This is how you remind me of how gay I really am. Hey, what's happening? You know, I was never into Nickelback, but I didn't have a visceral hatred for them like so many people did. Either way, any attempts to escape their reach were futile during their heyday. You couldn't pump gas, buy groceries, or sit in the dentist waiting room without hearing How You Remind Me or their other music finding your eardrums. They've sold 50+ million albums. They topped charts for years and packed arenas worldwide. As Forrest Gump would say,
"We got more money than David Crockett."
So how did they become the internet's punching bag? It seems to have started with jabs from comedians on Comedy Central and
No one talks about the studies that show that bad music makes people violent. Like Nickelback makes me want to kill Nickelback.
Then the band became the butt of jokes on shows like American Dad.
I don't want to hear it anymore, Francine. The only thing I want to hear right now is the sweet sound of this Nickelback CD cracking as I drive over it repeatedly.
And the business end of many, many internet memes. But without any controversies, drug problems, troublesome lists, or juicy scandals to divide their massive fan base, could such a downfall be organic? Or did somebody reprogram the cultural mainframe to make Nickelback the designated villain? Thanks so much for stopping by NPC Overrider, where we challenge mainstream source code to develop independent thought, one user story at a time. Today we're playing some Bomberman 64 on the old 64. Grab your Discman, and let's check out the latest programming. Block 1. Nickelback's rise. Despite how it seemed, Nickelback didn't appear out of the void. They worked their way up from Alberta, Canada. Yes, the only respectable part of the country. Chad Kroeger, his brother Mike, cousin Brandon, and buddy Ryan started as Village Idiot in the mid-90s, spinning up grunge-inspired rock to perform in bars and small gigs throughout Western Canada. They signed with Roadrunner Records in 1999, which is a label famous for bands like Slipknot, Killswitch Engage, and Rob Zombie, which would have been more of my flavor back then. Metal fans weren't crazy about this. I personally didn't have any idea, which likely contributed to early cracks in the Nickelback foundation. Then on September 11th, 2001, of all days, their album Silver Side Up dropped, topping the Billboard Hot 100 and scoring #1 internationally. But what started as an organic rise suddenly began to feel more manufactured. Block 2, the tipping point. Back then, we didn't carry every recorded song in human history in our pockets like we do today with apps like Pandora and Spotify. All we had was the radio, dying music channels like MTV, and whatever you were willing to shell out $16 a pop for to build your CD collection. Unless, of course, you were willing to fry the family computer with torrent sharing programs like LimeWire. After months and years of carpet bombing listeners 24/7, listeners eventually shifted from turning up the volume to switching the station when Nickelback started playing. Then a few new kids hit the block, such as the White Stripes, Fall Out Boy, and the Strokes, and the Nickelback style slowly started the path to Dad Rockdom. In 2006, UK furniture store DFS licensed the song Rockstar, which was a defining moment, as many fans felt the band sold out, which led to early memes, protests, and overall online ridicule. Adding fuel to the fire, some of the band's interviews and overall persona came off as arrogant, such as Chad Kroeger's tour on MTV Cribs. Critics at places like the New York Times and Rolling Stone magazine piled on, and Detroit Lions football fans even circulated a petition in 2011 to remove Nickelback from the halftime show. Still, after collecting over 20,000 signatures, they played anyway, but I'm sure if you enjoyed. Here's where the industry stepped in, or maybe rather stepped aside. Block 3, industry motives. By the 2010s, post-grunge was becoming old news, and many music fans felt new artists and new genres like dubstep and indie were more deserving of airtime. At this point, Nickelback represented the mainstream corporate machine, and their success became tiresome, much like the Patriots or Chiefs winning the Super Bowl time and again. Roadrunner Records likely wanted to ditch the wet blanket, but needed a clean way to cut ties. Was this the music industry's way of taking out the trash? Looking back, it almost seems like the plan was to, #1, flood the airwaves and rake in the profits while you can. #2, let overexposure turn them into public enemy #1. And lastly, step back and watch the internet do the dirty work for free. It's a lot easier than legal battles, isn't it? But this wasn't an edge case. We've seen this tactic before. Anybody actually watching this? I think I have an average of 7 views maybe on the past few videos. Let me know why you think it's not popping. Hell, I'll even take a thumbs down at this point. Appreciate it. All right, block 4, pattern recognition. Here, I've got 3 quick case studies for us. All right, case study #1, the Dixie Chick. Remember back in 2003, it was March 10th, 2003, just before the Iraq invasion kicked off, and Dixie Chick's lead singer Natalie Maines criticized then President George W. Bush during a concert in London, where she said, "We do not want this war, this violence, and we're ashamed that the President of the United States is from Texas." Well, most people, a lot of people, in hindsight, might feel the same way in 2026, but at the time, this was not a popular opinion. In fact, it was career suicide, and the music industry helped seal their fate. Radio stations banned their music and organized events to run over their albums with tractors. Their sales cratered, and like Nickelback, there was no support from the powers that be. All right, next case study, R. Kelly. We know R. Kelly is a convicted sex offender now, but there were years of allegations and suspicions before the disgraced artist swapped his fur coat in for an orange jumpsuit. But the establishment kept making money. Then the surviving R. Kelly docuseries dropped and public outrage spiked. Once the music industry sees the green light, they drop R. Kelly like a bad habit. All right, case study number 3, J.K. Rowling. J.K. Rowling and the Harry Potter franchise seemed too big to fail. But after the massively successful author made tweets about gender back in 2020, fans and non-fans alike banded together to bury Rowling. The establishment wanted to continue milking the Harry Potter content, but was okay with targeting the creator. Actors distanced themselves, and Warner Brothers issued a inclusivity statement to calm the masses. This fueled public outrage and allowed everyday people to make an easy decision on what was the safe opinion to have on the matter. Okay, it's time to dig into the final patch and wrap up. Nickelback lead singer Chad Kroeger once said his band was the whipping boy of the music industry. Yet despite the global hatred, Nickelback still stands, and they're still making music. They released their latest full-length album, Get Rollin', just a couple of years ago. Spotify launched in 2008, well after they peaked, yet How You Remind Me sits at 1.6 billion spins as I write. Their YouTube channel has over 4 million subscribers, and viewers flooded the comment section with mostly love and admiration. Their website is fresh, full of merch for sale, and lists tour dates as recent as November 2025. The bands that sought to take their place 20 years ago have largely disappeared. Just think of bands like Hoobastank or Puddle of Mud. The magazine Rolling Stone is a shell of its former self, now known as an establishment rag, guilty of the very crimes that they accused Nickelback of committing so long ago. In 2024, Ryan Reynolds even said,
Nickelback is fucking amazing.
Today, it seems the spell is worn off, and it's now safe to like Nickelback again. I guess it's true what they say about bad publicity. Looking back, while there were legitimate reasons to criticize Nickelback, just as there is with every band, such as overplay, label placement, and band arrogance, the hatred felt controlled. After seeing similar plays with the Dixie Chicks, R. Kelly, and J.K. Rowling, is it possible that similar tactics were followed with vaccine beliefs, race relations, and climate change? It wasn't that long ago where we couldn't say men couldn't have babies without being banned or censored. You were a racist for not supporting Obama, or if you thought that we should have a fence on the border. And if you didn't, quote, trust the science, you were responsible for anybody who died from CV. Today, what you can and can't say has sharply shifted, just as we saw with Nickelback. So the next time the cultural or political algorithm tells you what's, quote, safe to believe or say, you might ask yourself, am I being Nickelbacked? Well, that's going to do it for this version of NPC Overrider. I'm your lead engineer, Greg. All references are available through the release notes, or they will be shortly. If you want to help me save the NPCs, please do me a favor and set the like button to true and open up a ticket in the comments section if you have an idea for a future release. But for now, we're going to shut down and grab a beer. Thanks so much for stopping by. Have a good one.